Okay guys, so we're going to do the struts on this Nissan, which are also known as front shocks. I've already removed the tire here, and my kid was going to help me. He bailed on me, but anyway, the process was to remove these 3 bolts here, and he removed this one, so the strut dropped down. That's okay. These ones are extremely easy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull this clip right here, and it just pops that direction. It's just a flat clip to hold that brake line in place. We're going to get a 17 millimeter impact and wrench here and pull these 2 bolts off, and this thing's literally going to come right out of the way now that the spring is let loose. So we may have to push down a little bit here because the spring is let loose. And then I'm going to show you how we use these tools here to collapse that spring to put the new strut in place. So let's go ahead and pull these 17s. If you don't have an air ratchet, just use a regular ratchet. Okay, so I put the compressors on, sprung it down, was able to get everything out. Now I got to go ahead and get the cap out here. And again, because of the way this one was pulled off, I'm going to need to show you backwards how to put it together. So let's pull these 3 12 millimeters out. Okay, so we got that out. Now I pulled those 3 12 millimeters out. So this is an 05 Nissan Sentra 1.8 liter. And I believe the 1.8 and the 2.3s were the same shock. So we went with the Gabrielle G56806. So if you need it, you can look up that code if you have this car. Now, while we have these off, and I'm going to show you again how to use those in just a second. Now's a good time to check out a few things, like your lower control arm bushing and ball joints here. Your ball joints up under here, your bushings are here. Your steering, your axle, these CV joints like to slit and dry out, crack, whatever, and leak grease. You have the one on the one side by the transmission and the one on this side by the rotor. Check your brakes at this point. You can look down inside and see how much meat is on the shoes and determine whether or not they need to be changed, or even the rotor if it's warped. Just rub your fingers across it like that and see if it's kind of wavy. In this case, this car looks like it's in really decent shape. Might need a little bath down here, spray it or something, but other than that, all of our joints, all of our bushings, all of our the brake lines, the axle, the brake shoes themselves, the rotor, all of it's in good shape. So we're going to go ahead and move on to this. So I went ahead and took these clamps. Now you can see these little keepers here. They just push that way and lock into place to hold that around the spring if you've never used these. If you have used these, you can go ahead and jump ahead at this time. So essentially all you're going to do is just lock it together. Now this one's already cranked down smaller. This is like maybe 40% smaller at this point. So the reason that you do this is so that you can get the shock in there, and once you tighten up the top nut, it'll hold it in place. So I think you'll understand more if I sit here and do it. So yeah, these clamps here just go to 2 springs and just tighten down with a 3/4 inch socket. And this tool here, if you don't own it, any auto parts store will rent it to you, and it doesn't charge anything. It costs you $55 as a deposit, and when you bring the tool back, you get your money back. So don't try to do this without these. It's extremely difficult. Just go ahead and get them. So okay, let's pull our new strut out of the box and assemble it inside the spring. Okay, so here's our new Gabrielle strut. So now all we're going to do is push down as hard as you can here, right at the top, and you're going to relieve this this little clip. See how it lifts up? And that comes out of the way. That's just so that they can use a smaller box to package it. Alright, so we pull that off, we get rid of the clip. You're not going to be using that. Now, we're going to take the strut, while the clamps are still on it, slide it through. Now I'm going to have to crank this one down a little bit more. If you look here, there's a location here that's the lowest point of your strut, right there by my thumb. And that's where this is going to end up, the last part of the strut. So let's go ahead and line that up. And that's going to sit at just about as straight as it can get at this point. So I am going to have to crank this down a little bit more. And then you're going to take the rubber, well, that should have had rubber in it. The clamp, oh, it's inside. So you're going to take the clamp and you're going to lay it just like this. And then remember, this has to go upside down because these have to point up through. So let's go ahead and assemble that. And what's going to hold that is the nut that we took off for the clip. So let's put that together. I'm going to have to tighten this down a little bit more, and then we'll assemble it, that, and then put the nut on. Okay, so now we've assembled the nut here. You can see where I put this plate back on and this one. Remember, it looks like it's upside down, but it's not. And now we can go ahead and take off the adjusters. And then we're ready to assemble this, reassemble it. Okay, so first we're just going to poke it up in there and put these 3 nuts on. So let's go ahead and tighten those down. Then we can spin that around and lighten, adjust that. So that will move, kind of snug, but it will move back and forth. So let's get those 3 in. Alright, so those are tight. Now see, we can just grab the strut here and just literally spin it around and line it up where we want it. This is like the easiest way to do it. So we'll get it lined up, and then we can go ahead and put our hose back in, just set it in the hole there. Let's lift this up now into place and slide our bolts in. And remember, I just went that direction, but the bolts actually slide in from the back going to the front, and then the nut goes on the front side, which would be your left. So let's get those bolts and nuts in there. Those 17s, you remember. There we go. Alright, let's get those put on. Okay, so I've tightened both of those up, 17mm wrench and nut here. So now the hose, the brake line hose, if you remember, we're just going to push it past the clip, bring it inside like that, and pull it back through that small hole. I hope you can see that, just like that. And then we're going to take our clip here and just shove it right over top of it. So here I'll have to use 2 hands because I'll need to tap this side of it. So let me go ahead and get behind that. Alright, so I did grab the rotor a little bit and twist it because the other side is still off the ground. We need to do that side still. And that was easier for me to get the clip on there and tap it in. So that's it. This strut is completely done. It's all assembled, it's properly, and we can move on to the next one. So I'll put the tire on here and we're good to go. There's no use, I went into a lot of detail here. There's no use in doing the other side for you. You get the idea. You can visit me at backyardmechanic.org. You can click on my name under this video for all my other how-to videos. And once again, I really appreciate all the subscribing, all the likes, and all the comments. Thank you guys a bunch. You guys are awesome. Enjoy.